We're in the home stretch in the race to determine who shows up on your ballot in November, and big donations could make the difference.
I think some groups are focusing, I think rightly, on which candidate can win.
We'll look closer at the role of money in the campaign to win your vote in the runoff election. What if children had no one to comfort them? And what if the people who wanted to help couldn't because of red tape?
We're their advocates, we're their voices. If we don't have licenses, we can't properly advocate for them.
We investigate why so many ready to work for their communities are stuck waiting on the state. Hello, and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. Big money could make a big difference in the race to replace a longtime Texas congressman. Lamar Smith is retiring after more than 30 years in Congress. He represents District 21, which stretches from Austin to San Antonio and into the Hill Country. With just days to go before the runoff election, big money is coming into the race from super PACs on the Republican side. Our Phil Prazen spoke to the candidates.
The limited government super PAC, Club for Growth Action, is on TV advocating for former Ted Cruz Chief of Staff Chip Roy and against Bernie businessman Matt McCall.
McCall for Congress, Pelosi for Speaker.
Even comparing the Republican to Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi. FEC reports show the group has spent more than $500,000 since the March primary.
One has to ask, why does he need all of this money from outside the state and these endorsements from people, none of whom live here?
Club for Growth is the same group that spent millions backing Senator Ted Cruz for president against Donald Trump. And Cruz has been campaigning for Roy over the past few weeks. But I asked McCall, if voters like Cruz, why shouldn't they listen to him?
He needs to get back in his lane. He was wrong about the president, he's wrong now.
On the campaign, Roy has emphasized his experience working with elected officials like Cruz in D.C.
They see a candidate that has a very strong, proven track record, who's been in the trenches, fighting alongside conservatives they trust.
But Roy did not make the same comparison of McCall the outside PAC did. Would you compare him to Nancy Pelosi?
What I'm doing and focusing on my campaign, what other groups are doing and saying outside, that's what they're doing. And I think some groups are focusing, I think rightly, on which candidate can win.
For State of Texas, I'm Phil Prazen.
Super PAC spending is common after the Citizens United Supreme Court ruling. That ruling prevents the government from restricting spending by independent groups to support or defeat a candidate. The latest campaign data from the FEC is from early May. It shows Chip Roy's campaign has spent $500,000 so far in this race. McCall has spent $177,000. There's a big difference in campaign spending on the Democratic side. Veteran and businessman Joseph Kopser is taking on minister and math teacher Mary Wilson. Federal campaign data shows Kopser's campaign has spent $966,000 so far. That's more than 10 times what Mary Wilson's campaign has spent. Phil Prazen spoke to both candidates about their priorities.
Why should voters vote for you as opposed to Mary Wilson?
Mary Wilson's a great person. I've had a lot of fun getting to know her over the course of the campaign, and even more so now in the primary runoff. I went into this race focused on winning in November, and the argument I've been making to Democratic voters is that I not only share their progressive values of things that we fought so hard for over the years, but doing that in a way that will allow independents and those orphaned Republicans who are just so estranged by their party today. They don't even recognize the Texas Republicans of today, to be able to say, you know what, we want calm out of the chaos. And I think I have an appeal to those folks.
What's the biggest difference between you and Mr. Kopser in your mind?
Well, I think we approach things from a different perspective. Given my career in education and as a minister, my approach is always about what is in the best interest of people who are most in need. You know, when I take phone calls from, somebody who's in her 60s, she's lost her job and has health issues and can't pay her rent, then I want to know, why do we have a system that would leave a person like that out on the street? I think that that's what's different about us, just where we come from, first and foremost.
Your opponent, Joseph Kopser, has said, I'm the only person who can win in November, and that's why we have to take me the moderate choice.
Yeah, what evidence is? Actually, I think I'm the better candidate to win in November, because I'm confident that if for any crossover voters that we might get, If we look around the country, those tend to be women. The demographic tends to be similar to my age, and they are looking for an alternative to what their party offers. And even the Austin Chronicle indicated that Mr. Kopser can be a little bit Republican light.
The criticism from your opponents in the primary has been always the fear that you're too close to business.
Well, what I would say is that if you step back and look at my progressive policies, of the work that I did while in business to stand up and fight against the bathroom bill, for instance, from Lieutenant Governor Patrick, or to look at the health care that we fought for and provided for in our company and what it did for all of our employees. Small business and the American dream of free enterprise is not one of Republican or Democratic values, it's an American value. And so I think their criticism is wrongly placed.
You can hear more from each of the candidates online now. We spoke at length with both Republicans and both Democrats in the District 21 race. We posted links to the extended interviews on your station's website. Campaign donations are also playing a big role in other races across Texas. We'll check in with our panel and look at some of the top races in the state on Election Day. Sexual harassment at the state capitol. After victims speak out, House leaders take a new step to stop the problem. Find out who's leading the bipartisan plan under the dome. A bureaucratic backlog in state government holding up social workers from helping Texas families and children in need. We investigate coming up on State of Texas. The Texas House of Representatives is taking new steps to prevent sexual harassment in the legislature. House Speaker Joe Straus announced a panel that will include 8 lawmakers from both parties. The panel will be co-chaired by Representative Donna Howard, an Austin Democrat, and Linda Coop, a Dallas Republican. You may remember in December, the House adopted new sexual harassment policies and required all staff to undergo training. Those steps came after a series of media reports detailing a culture of sexual harassment at the state capitol. For perspective on the changes at the Capitol, we turn to our roundtable. Peggy Fikak is the Austin Bureau Chief for the San Antonio Express News. James Berrigan covers state government for the Dallas Morning News. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this new working group at the Capitol with the House, do you think it's going to do any good? I know that they've already kind of addressed their policies, so what's different about this?
I think just taking a harder look at it is important, and they'll be doing it in a time frame where if they want to actually put something into law, I don't know that they're looking at doing that, but they would be able to in the upcoming legislative session. And I think just having more attention on this issue, which remains at the top of the news, is really important for the legislature because there hasn't been a really good process for handling these types of complaints in the past.
Yeah, what could happen out of this?
I don't know. I think the conversation is really the key issue here on whether that leads to changes in policies or the rules on how sexual misconduct is handled or how it's, prevention of it is taught. I think that could be interesting. I also think it's really kind of Speaker Straus's, a good move on his part to say we want to keep this front and center, and also to put as the chairs of the working group, 2 women, Linda Coop and Donna Howard. I think that sends a strong message.
Who are on different sides of the aisle.
Right. But both obviously are interested in this topic, and it's important.
Well, let's turn to the runoffs. We saw the campaign finance reports this week with both Lupe Valdez and Andrew White. What are you reading into that?
Well, looks like whichever candidate gets the nomination is going to be at the huge disadvantage that we expected them to be at compared to Governor Abbott. I think Lupe Valdez, after correcting her report, said she's going to have like $208,000 raised in this last period, and Andrew White a little bit less than that. Greg Abbott has more than $41 million at last count. So yeah, that was not good news for either of them. I think both are doing a little bit of media right now, but whether it's enough to make an impression beyond the runoff is really doubtful.
What are the other notable races from your perspective? Which ones are you really watching?
There's so many great congressional races going on. In the San Antonio area, 2 of the hottest ones are happening. You have sort of one of the rare toss-up districts in San Antonio, the seat that's held by Will Hurd, a Republican, but one who has been treading rather carefully not to align himself too closely with Donald Trump. And you have two really vibrant, interesting candidates competing for the nomination to face him, Gina Ortiz-Jones and Rick Trevino. Very different candidates. Gina Ortiz-Jones, former Army intelligence officer, supported by the DCCC. Rick Trevino, he's raised, I think at last count, maybe $40,000, much less than her, but he's running a sort of Bernie Sanders style campaign. He's very personable and has a lot of energy. So I think it might be, I mean, you'd have to give the edge to Gina Ortiz-Jones, but I think that could be a close race.
What race are you going to watch that night?
I like that one. I think that one's really, really interesting. I'm also looking at the Houston race with Laura Moser and Lizzie Fletcher. Kind of the same dynamics there, where there's a DCCC-backed candidate and there's sort of this rising, sort of surging, more Bernie Sanders-style candidate that's coming into the race and garnering a lot of popularity. I think it's kind of we speak to a lot about the sort of civil war between the GOP here in Texas, but you're kind of seeing that a little bit in the Democratic side.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Peggy, James, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of sports fans in Texas are focused on their teams on the court or on the field. But the biggest sports news this week came from the Supreme Court.
Prohibition of sports gambling has come to an end today, and it's about time.
The court struck down a federal ban that kept states from legalizing sports betting, but will Texas get in the game? We'll look at who's placing bets on the future of gambling in the Lone Star State.
Did you have any idea of the problems at this agency?
I had no idea. I thought it was just a normal process, but after speaking with you, I find out it's not so normal and things do need to change.
Hundreds of trained social workers just waiting for jobs because of a Texas backlog keeping them from getting a license to work. How it's affecting families, children, people in need of care across the state. You're watching State of Texas. Families in crisis, children in abusive homes, and people struggling with mental illness.
We're their advocates, we're their voices.
Now the need in Texas is growing for qualified therapists and social workers. We discovered hundreds of capable people, trained and qualified, cannot start working to fill that need, all because our state government is so far behind getting them a license to work. And as investigator Jody Barr reports, when lawmakers tried to make changes to fix the problem last year, they couldn't get it done.
No results matched. It's not there.
Deanna Dotson's waited.
So I've just been calling and sending them emails.
And waited.
Right now it's showing there's nothing.
For 6 months, she's tried to get a single piece of paper from the state's social worker licensing office. And 6 months in.
Well, I was hoping it's going to be a quick process, but unfortunately, I'm just twirling my thumbs and waiting.
Dotson holds a master's in social work. She applied to the Texas Health and Human Services Commission for her license in November, and still nothing.
And I called them in December just to follow up and check on it, and they told me they didn't receive my application, so I had to resend it.
So had you not called, you could have been sitting here today with no movement.
Dotson's story is a familiar one for social worker and therapist graduates in Texas, and lots of them. Records show in the last 5 years, nearly 5,500 license applications in a pending status.
This has resulted in a licensing process mired by bureaucratic red tape, and as a result, licensing of qualified mental health care providers is delayed at a time that Texas is facing a significant shortage.
In 2016, lawmakers assessed the mental health boards under the state's sunset review process.
It doesn't work.
A process that looks at the effectiveness of state agencies. Lawmakers weren't happy with the findings.
There's something systemically wrong with the way you do business.
The review found the Department of State Health Services didn't do anything about the massive backlogs in licensing for more than 5 years. So lawmakers wrote a bill that would strip the licensing unit from that agency. The bill never made it to the House floor for a vote last session. In September, the state moved the licensing unit to Health and Human Services, but lawmakers were still reeling over the backlog at this meeting last month.
There's over 50,000 licenses that have been stalled and dragged out for years. And it basically became a downhill slide, and it became, as things got worse, they got worse really quick.
Will Francis represents Texas's licensed social workers. He says his group's been telling the state about the problems inside the licensing unit for years.
Ultimately, it's really concerning that all of these numbers did not raise more red flags at the state level. Again, the legislature only knows what the state agencies tell them. And if the state agencies are not saying, hold on here, we have major backlogs, then ultimately they can't fix that.
Francis argues this agency is one of the main causes of the state's mental health worker shortage. If you search the Health and Human Services Job Bank today, you'll see 140 open positions there. When we checked 1 month ago, there were 615 pending license applications. People lined up and ready to go to work, except they can't get the state to process their license application.
We want to apologize for these backlogs.
Health and Human Services bosses were back before the Sunset Commission last month. David Constrom took over the licensing unit in September. How did it get so bad?
You know, having taken over the program in September, I really couldn't speculate on exactly what transpired in the past as to how it got as backlogged as it is.
Since we interviewed Costron 1 month ago, the agency says it's cut the pending application backlog from 615 to 75 pending today. But Deanna Dodson is still waiting. We asked the man in charge about her 6-month wait for Health and Human Services to schedule her licensing exam.
What do you think that's doing to people like her?
You know, that's unfortunate that she had to wait that long, and my apologies directly to her, but we're working to minimize that so that future applicants that submit their applications don't go through that same experience.
Health and Human Services hired 3 new full-time workers in March. The agency plans to hire another 9 staffers very soon. Now, we'll continue to keep an eye on Health and Human Services' progress with this licensing backlog for you. From the Capitol, I'm Jody Barr. Back to you.
Jody, thank you very much. HHSC is also blamed for failing to hire enough people to investigate ethics complaints against Texas social workers and therapists. Since 2015, complaint investigations for marriage and family counselors rose from a nearly 2-year average to nearly 2.5-year average to finish. It takes HHSC nearly 3 years to finish complaint investigations into licensed professional counselors. Social worker complaints are in the worst shape of all, taking HHSC more than 3 years on average to finish an investigation.
The Supreme Court opens the door for states to legalize sports gambling, and some state lawmakers want Texas to get in the game.
It's a perfect time to have, again, a conversation.
But opponents are already planning to shut down the effort.
But I'm confident, this issue raises its head that, the legislature, won't move it through.
We'll look at the big decision facing state lawmakers over the question of sports betting in Texas.
Many sports fans across Texas will have their eyes on the Rockets and Warriors Sunday night in the NBA playoffs, but the biggest sports news of the week may have come from the U.S. Supreme Court. Justices struck down a decades-old law that gave Nevada a monopoly on sports betting. Getting rid of the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act will clear the way for other states to offer legal gambling on sports. One state lawmaker here is already pushing a plan to make sports betting legal in Texas. His plan would send some of the proceeds to education, but as Wes Rappaport shows us, some educators are skeptical.
It's a perfect time to have a conversation and take incremental steps towards bringing some of this economic revenue, economic development, tax revenue to the state of Texas.
Brownsville Democrat Eddie Lucio III says his bill to legalize sports betting in Texas is in its early stages, but he wants lawmakers to address this next session.
It's, I think, will do a lot to increase the value of sports franchises in the state of Texas. It will draw more viewership to sporting events. and it's just fun and entertaining.
And his idea to have the proceeds fund public education may sound familiar. The Texas Lottery was built with the goal to contribute to education. The Texas Lottery Commission says it gave $1.3 billion to education last year, but that's only a fraction of what it costs to educate Texas kids.
Participation in the lottery isn't what we hoped it would be. I would think you'd have a significant amount of more people participate in sports gaming than they do in lottery.
Every little bit counts.
Some educators worry Texans will think this solves all the school finance problems, which it wouldn't.
We definitely appreciate people coming up with nuanced, creative ways to try to increase the funding for our schools. At the same time, let's stay focused as well on that permanent school finance reform.
Wes Rappaport for State of Texas.
Lucio says he wanted to take the lead to start a broad conversation on legalizing sports betting. He told us he plans to spend time before the session starts in January studying more about what Texans want out of his proposal. Many Texans, including the governor and lieutenant governor, oppose plans to legalize gambling. Opponents argue that most of the money raised from gambling comes from people in poor communities.
The sales come from areas that where, you know, the socioeconomic their salaries are low, minority high, the amount of public assistance is high. So, you know, it's an economic question, and how should the state raise funds?
People who want more gambling in Texas often point to the popularity of casinos in neighboring states. The Texas Gaming Association estimated casino gambling could bring the state $1.5 billion each year. Lawmakers filed bills in past sessions to legalize casino gambling, with some proceeds going to the state. All those measures failed. Gambling bills have a higher hurdle in the legislature since they require a change to the state constitution. The bills need 2/3 approval in both the House and the Senate. Then Texas voters would decide whether the measure becomes law. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.